Okay. Hi, I'd like to first of all thank you guys for coming out to do this. I know it's a bit of an effort to do it, and plus with the COVID thing here, it makes it a little more difficult, but appreciate the fact that you're doing it. Anyway, Don asked me about sharing something for rusted restorations on my my motorcycling experience and basically dealing with the sidecar aspect of it. I started motorcycling in 1965 and had various motorcycles, but in 1971 I got my first BMW after the death of my brother, and then I got two of them from him, which I purchased from my sister-in-law. But anyway, got the one going, and in 1972 we bought this sidecar, and it's a Bender Florin. I bought it from the BMW dealer in Winnipeg. It was BVW Cycle, and Dieter Wallenstein owned it. And anyways, he brought in the sidecar for me from Denmark. At least that's where it was made. I don't know where he purchased it. But anyway, that was 1972, and we had that hooked to the BMW R60/2, and that was really putting the cart before the horse, because that little 600 did not have the power nor the gearing to pull that sidecar properly. So 1975, when I bought the black BMW that you see behind me here, we hooked that to that BMW, and then it had 10 years of very serious sidecarring. We used to do all our vacationing with that. Connie and Jennifer would both fit into the sidecar, and we would have a tent pack, we'd have camping gear, cooking gear, all our sleeping gear, had a heavy canvas tent. The camping poles were suspended between the motorcycle and the sidecar, and by the way, that was a rigid hookup to that sidecar and motorcycle. But anyways, the poles would ride between us here, and we did many miles. Sturgis a number of times. What's the place called in Minnesota there?
Detroit Lakes?
Detroit Lakes, yeah. We went to Detroit Lakes a number of times. And Kenora, West Hawk, those places. So that was basically our vacationing, either as a family or just Viola and myself. But if it was Viola and myself, it was basically just two up on the bike. But anyway, then after about 10 years or so, when the girls are through the sidecar, then it was mostly Viola and I two up on that other motorcycle. And she did I'm sure she did over 100,000 miles in the back seat of that bike, and in total now it has 361,000 miles. But anyway, the sidecar was in limbo. It was always ready to be hooked up to the black bike, and we did have it on the motorcycle occasionally, usually for giving rides to either young children or seniors. Seniors kind of have a liking for sidecars, and of course kids all love it. So then about 20 years ago, I purchased this brown bike that I'm sitting on, which is a 1978 R100/7, and it became a son-in-law's, and then 15 years ago it became mine again. And anyway, it sat in my back shed for about 14-15 years, and last fall I got it out, and I started refurbishing it a little bit and getting into shape. And I've always had this idea of having a flexible sidecar to the motorcycle. One of the first rallies we went to was in Paul Bunyan country there. What's it called?
Minnesota?
Yeah, it's Minnesota. Brainerd, Minnesota. And they used to have motorcycle races and activities, and they would have a motorcycle challenge where you were blindfolded, and then you would take direction from your co-pilot in the sidecar, and you had to do an obstacle course. Of course, I didn't do that well. But there was a fellow there, he was an older gentleman at the time. His name was Pop Dreyer, and he had an old BMW, and he had a sidecar hooked to it, but he had a unique feature that I think he built himself, where only the wheel tilted with the sidecar. It was not that the motorcycle was separated from the sidecar or leaned from the sidecar, but the wheel would lean with the motorcycle, and it worked very well. And I've always had this idea of a motorcycle being independent in turning from the sidecar, and I've had this thought forever. And then some of you know, a couple of years ago, about 10 years ago, I bought a little mini bike, which you'll see in a video later. I I got the idea I would try it on that. I rigged it up, did my pivot in the middle, made the frame, did the whole thing. A friend of mine had a workshop and he allowed me to use that. And I rigged that thing up there, and I liked it so well. A few years later, when I purchased this bike back, then I thought, well, I'm going to try this on my motorcycle, make it work. And after I did that mini bike, I thought it was an original idea. And then after I got to do some research on it, I found out there was a fella in Fort Saskatchewan, Alberta, who did what I did. Actually, I copied his design to a degree, and he said he also found a sidecar that would flex away from the motorcycle, or the motorcycle away from the sidecar. And so he got the idea, and he used some of those ideas, and I of course borrowed some ideas off of his. So after I get this thing going and I'm doing more research, then I find out that this has been going on in Europe for quite a few years already. Sweden, Norway, all those places, there's guys that have big bikes and they have fantastic sidecars, and those guys really motor. And they do, of course you see all the European roads that they take and do whatever, and those guys push it. They're really motoring with their sidecars, and they're just having a blast. And what I like about this here is that although I've been riding mine, I haven't perfected it to where I want it yet, but it's a dream to ride. On the highway, you have no trouble passing somebody and coming back in. The pull on the bike is nothing the same. It's just a pleasure to ride. If you're interested in seeing some of the workings of it, Don, do you want to see some of the workings of it?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah? I don't know, if you want to move the camera around?
No, I can shoot it with this.
You can see I'm sitting on the motorcycle, and I have a support here, which all I do is I raise a little latch, and I can lean my motorcycle about 22 degrees, and of course that really helps in the turning of it. And the left turns were never a problem. It's a right turn that's a problem. So anyways, I can also lean it to the right, and that really helps, because if your sidecar is hooked up solid, for people that have never run a sidecar will find it hard to imagine that you can't make a right-hand turn without the wheel coming up, unless you got a lot of power that you can crank it on and bring it around. But for the most part, if you have a light sidecar or no one in the sidecar, it's a bit of a challenge. I shouldn't say a bit of a challenge, it's quite a challenge to be passing somebody, even with the crown of the road being off to the left. You want to turn your motorcycle back into the lane, and your front wheel comes up, or your sidecar wheel comes up. Your front wheel wants to go left, but you want to go right, and the harder you pull right, the more the wheel comes up, the further it wants to go left. So that poses a problem when you have a light sidecar or don't have enough weight in it. But this here takes care of all that. It just makes it a breeze to work with. And of course the steering damper is important, because you will get some head shake on it, and like a lot of trikes will have that as well, I understand. But all in all, it's a good thing. It's been a good learning curve, and a lot of fun to do it. So the sidecar, the Bender Florin, comes from Denmark, and I have tried to find another one and do some research. There is very little on the Bender Florin sidecar. It was fashioned after the Stibe, which is a German sidecar, and if you have a Stibe, I think of Marvin Cooper. He had that old BMW with that Stibe sidecar. Well, that's like owning a '63 Corvette split window. You know, that's about how rare and how sought after that is. But to a guy that likes sidecars, of course. But this old Bender here, he's been around for a long time. It's been no problem, and I don't have a brake on it. A brake would be nice, but we always got away without it. So anyway, that's about all I have for that. Unless you.
No, that's perfect, Jess. How many miles have you got on this bike?
This bike only has 60,000 kilometers.
60,000 kilometers.
Yeah,
wow.
And I put about 3,000 kilometers on this rig now.
So tell me about the trials and tribulations you had when you first hooked this thing up. I know when you came out to the corn roast this year, you had some issues.
Oh yeah, my the bracket on the fairing broke. It had nothing to do with the working of the sidecar, nothing at all. It was just the the fairing bracket, and that's a weakness of the better fairing. I've repaired the one on the black bike, and this one I've been checking and it was good, but the road from Carmen to Winnipeg, I noticed.
Well,
all
that's
of
a
sudden-
choppy road.
That's a choppy road, and all of a sudden I realized that my fairing is kind of wobbly, so I stopped at the Princess Auto and I bought some tools to MacGyver it, or some hose clamps and stuff to MacGyver it. And when I got to the corn roast, of course, the Choquette boys, they were very good to drill some holes and put some brackets on it, and you just mold it together, so it was good.
Good for you for making it to the cornrows, because
Yeah.
most people would have got the Princess Auto, bought the parts, hose clamped it together, and then drove home.
No. I could have taken the fairing off and put it in the sidecar.
No, it was nice to see it out there.
Yeah.
I'd heard you'd done it and
Yeah.
you'd completed the conversion on it.
Yeah.
And but it was really cool to see it work.
Yeah. No, it's and not everybody likes a sidecar, but I'm kind of hooked on them. So anyway, it's I don't need it now, but it's still a novelty. But
It's a different experience.
yep, it is, and especially with this leaning aspect, it's really nice.
That's the articulating prototype.
Yep.
No steering damper on that one, I see.
Well, thank you. Okay.
Thanks, Chaz.
Alrighty. Cut.